but they don't tell you what you have to be doing in the class. Yes, I've gotten all these things. Now, what should I do? What am I supposed to do to keep my students engaged, to make sure that my students are getting the best education they can get, because they are paying their money at the end of the day. I've gotten the good lighting. We have good connection. What are we going to do now? Am I just going to look at my students and say, yeah, here's my puppet, say hi to.
All right, let's do it. And we are live. Okay. Welcome, Hone. You are the first person from Botswana who I have met on iTalki, actually. So I'd like for you to just introduce yourself to people watching, please.
All right. Thank you so much, Ryan. My name is Gaone, and I am from Botswana, as you have already mentioned. I teach on 3 platforms, actually. I teach on iTalki, Amazing Talker, and Preply. But most of my students are on Preply. Yeah.
Excellent.
That's
Excellent.
pretty much it.
That's beautiful. Okay, cool. I'm writing this all down. I have even more questions for you now. Haone. I would try to get your name right. Okay, great. So first of all, let's talk about these 3 platforms. Could you just give a little comparison of these 3 platforms and maybe tell me which one you prefer and why?
In comparison, I'd say they are pretty much the same, because they offer us a platform where we can have the lessons, the video call platform. So pretty much the same in that regard. And then booking systems are different across platforms, across these 3 platforms. And so with that said, the main difference is the booking system with these 3 platforms. And then the similarity is that all of them don't offer a curriculum that we have to follow. So I have to use my own, find my own material, plan my own lessons. So that's the main similarity. And I think that's why I've been able to work with these 3 platforms. And the platform I prefer the most is Preply, mostly because that's where I have most of my students, like 80% of my students are on Preply.
Wow, that's amazing. Because once you reached out to me, I recognized Haone right away. I was like, I remember her commenting on my video. So thank you for watching my videos, but you are mainly on Preply. So I'm glad that some stuff that I go over in my videos, hopefully could be applicable, because of course there are similarities. Yesterday or 2 days ago, I spoke with a teacher from India in the 3rd video of this, the 3rd interview, and she teaches on Preply. And then I spoke to a man from South Africa, and he teaches on Amazing Talker. So you are kind of bringing all of this together, and that's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed that you have so much availability on iTalki. So I would like to know, are there ever any like scheduling conflicts when you have 3 different three different platforms?
I have to say I've been lucky in that regard. I've never really had scheduling conflicts. And if I have scheduling conflicts, because my students on Preply have been with me for a while, sometimes I ask them if I have a scheduling conflict, mainly with iTalki and Preply, I'll ask my student on Preply if we could reschedule the lesson or have it another day, because I trust that this is a student that I've already established a relationship with. And then with so many available hours on iTalki, it's mostly taking the advice of other teachers on iTalki that say, open as many times as you can so that you can catch as many fish as you should. And so that's what I did. And bringing back or bringing in this issue of being a non-native teacher, non-native English speaker teacher, it's difficult to get students. So I thought I might as well open so many schedules, see what I get. And then once I have a solid foundation, that's when I'll throw up some of the schedules.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, if anybody who's watching this wants to learn English, please book with Gaone on any of these platforms. I'm going to put all of your profile links in the box below. And you don't just have experience on platforms. Like, you've taught in which countries? Bosnia is one of them. I heard in your intro video. Which countries have you taught in?
Well, actually, in my introduction videos, I talk about my experience teaching online. And so one of the first countries I got students from were Bosnia, Israel, and then Poland. So those are the countries I mentioned that I have experience working with students from these countries. And then offline, I have experience teaching here in Botswana only.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. So what do you prefer, teaching in person or teaching online?
I'm a hands-on person, and
Yeah.
I believe in being around my students when they are learning. So teaching online was something new for me. I had to learn some new tricks, which was why I started following you, or I discovered your channel when I was looking for online teachers that were willing to share their information with other teachers. Because sometimes you find no one is sharing how they are planning lessons, how they are doing it in their classes. And I found you being so open about it. And I was like, thank God, now I can see someone who does it, so I can have an idea of how to do it in an online classroom. Quite frankly, I prefer teaching offline, and with the opportunity to do so, I would like to relocate to one of the countries that need English teachers to teach there in an in-person environment.
Nice. So, okay. Are you thinking of any specific countries right now of where you would like to go to teach in person?
Yes, definitely. Vietnam was at the top of my list. China was my second choice. But then once again, because I am a non-native English speaker, it's difficult to get a job in China. I've been trying to apply since 2019.
No.
And I haven't gotten an interview with any schools that I submitted applications to. But with Vietnam, I did get a chance to have an interview, but then COVID-19 hit, and so everything was on pause. Hopefully, I'll start my process again now because the borders are opening up.
Yes. Well, best of luck. And if I could hire somebody, I would hire you.
Thank you.
I have a lot of experience learning on iTalki, and I haven't noticed that any of the non-native speaker teachers are any worse than the native speaker teachers. And in fact, I think that there are some pros. I think there are some positives among non-native speaker teachers a lot of the time. The first one being the fact that they learned a language, that they know what it takes to actually learn a language. I mean, look at you. And we haven't even spoken about what your native language is. So what is your L1 or your L1s? Yeah.
Okay, so my native language is Setswana. That's a language spoken here in Botswana. And funny enough, we have two national languages. So I guess parents have a choice of teaching their kids English first or teaching them my native language, Setswana, first. So these are the two national languages, English and Setswana. And I know both of them. I've been speaking Setswana for as long as I've been talking. And then English, I started learning English when I was 5 years old. So sometimes I think I don't even know how I got to learn the English language, because it's like a second language, but more of a native language to me.
Mm,
So I can kind of relate to some native speakers that say, well, we're not aware of the grammar that we speak. We just speak because we've been speaking since birth, and or since we started talking. So
yeah.
I say, yeah, I can relate to that, because I'm there too. And I had to refresh on grammar when I started teaching on iTalki and Preply and Amazing Talker. I had to refresh my mind on grammar and how I could deliver my lessons to my students as well.
Amazing. It sounds like you're in like the happy medium, like the best of both worlds, because it sounds like,
Mm-hmm.
in a way you go through some of the trials and tribulations that non-native speakers go through, since
Yeah.
Setswana is your first language. But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, you actually have that kind of, you make some of the native speaker mistakes, which actually are, even though they're mistakes, they are things that they're opportunities to grow. Like for me
Yeah.
as a native speaker, I had to relearn grammar, like
Mm-hmm.
learn what the rules are, just like you were talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even learn other varieties of English, like British English, Australian English, Irish English, right? And check my own biases. But at the end of the day, that helped me grow as a teacher. So it doesn't have to hold you back, as long
Mm-hmm.
as you allow it for growth. Yeah.
Yes, that's
Okay,
true.
great. So speaking about learning grammar, relearning grammar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, how did you go about that? Which resources could you recommend for people, for other native speakers, to learn, to learn the constructs of grammar, for example?
Well, I leaned heavily on the Oxford textbooks mainly. And honestly, I have like um 5 months experience teaching online. So I'm still discovering the best
Mm.
textbooks. So I welcome any suggestions as well. But so far, I've been using the Oxford textbooks that have been helpful. They have a wide variety of textbooks on grammar and use, how to teach grammar to beginners, how to teach grammar to intermediate students, because delivering lessons to these students, different level students, is different, and it can be a challenge, especially with intermediate students. So yeah, I appreciate that they have different types of textbooks and they have suggestions for all those. So far, Oxford is my go-to, and some online material. I go on Teachers Pay Teachers to find some resources, and yeah, pretty much that's it. Mhm.
Excellent. Teachers pay teachers. Have you ever thought about creating materials yourself? Are you interested in creating materials, or is that not really your cup of tea?
It's at the moment, um, it's not my cup of tea at the
No.
moment. It's so stressful. So I've been leaning towards other teachers' material, trusting other teachers and the
Mhm.
material they've put out there, and I love it so far. So I haven't thought about doing my own. Just looking at the material, I'm like, wow, this teacher is genius. How did they come up with this? Would I ever be able to come up with something like this? I don't
Mhm.
know yet. Maybe 5 years into teaching English, I might start thinking
Okay.
of creating my own material. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, because obviously I make resources on Teachers Pay Teachers, and if you did have
Mm-hmm.
resources, this would be a great time to publicize it. But
Yeah.
since you don't, and I completely understand, not
Yeah.
everybody wants to create, and
Mm-hmm.
it could be argued that there is an saturation of certain materials, right? But there are also
Mm-hmm.
other situations where there is probably a lack of materials, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
people are creative and if they're interested in making materials, it really comes down to, seeing what's out there and what
Mm-hmm.
there's a need for, right?
Yes,
Okay,
that's true.
so it sounds like you use textbooks with your students. Is that right?
Not really use
Or no?
textbooks. I just derive some material from the textbooks. So structured, I don't have a structured curriculum that I follow where from a textbook, let me say from a textbook. I don't have a structured curriculum that I follow from a textbook where I'll say there's today's lesson, I'm going to be teaching from chapter 1 of this Oxford textbook, and then chapter 2 in the next lesson, chapter 3. No, I actually went online, searched for the best way to teach English grammar. And someone gave me a suggestion, or I found a suggestion online of which topics to teach and which topics could come after that. And so I just go to the textbook, try to find some exercises, grammar explanation from those textbooks. With the help on Preply, we have some sort of course and they have some grammar explanations. So sometimes I mix those two, combine the two grammar explanations on Preply and then a worksheet or exercises that I've gotten from a textbook.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I'm so glad you brought that up, by the way, because this is something that I've spoken with a teacher, Anika from India about. She teaches on Preply as well. And we spoke about the fact that, you know, even though Preply has higher commission, some of the resources they have on there are fantastic, right? Like in terms of
Yes.
the resources they have for teachers. And
Mm-hmm.
some of the things we spoke about were the webinars, that they have very, very good, useful webinars for teachers,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um,
Yes.
you spoke about this grammar and using grammar to help you. I know iTalki is integrating this, so that's good. But I think that Preply has a really good program in place. So I wonder, have you attended any of the workshops or the webinars that they've hosted? Yeah.
Yes, I have. So in my offline work or teaching in class, I've worked with students aged between 8 years and up to 13 years. And so I've never really had experience teaching younger children. So one of the most helpful webinars available on Preply or Preply was the one on teaching young learners. So
Okay, we could
that
call
was
it, I always call it Preply, but I think I'm wrong. So we could call it Preply because that's the way that you say it. So Gaone, we are going to say it your way. Preply today.
Preply.
um, Usually I listen to the other person say it first and then I'm like, okay, we will say it that way. Okay, great. That's good. Yeah, for young learners, because I think this is also
Mhm,
something that I need. A lot of my subscribers need perspective on this because I only teach
mhm.
adults, like adults and teenagers. I don't really like teaching children. I could tell you have a very personable kind of aura about you. You seem like you would really be attractive for children as well. So I wonder, do you teach much children or is there like a real mixture between the people you teach?
There's a mixture, um, but most of my students are older older children, not
Mhm.
below 5, and then 70% of them are older adults. So there's a mix. And that's why I signed up for the the webinar, because I don't know how to grasp the attention of children in an online platform. Offline, I have no problem with it, but online, it's another story. So
Yes, another
I
story.
needed an expert's opinion on this and suggestions on how to do it. And it was helpful. Some suggestions came up in the webinar. And so far I've tried applying this with my students. Young learners, so far I have 4 young learners, 4 students. Yeah. And
Right.
I've been working with those. I've been getting constant bookings from these. So I guess I'm doing a good job, and the webinar has helped.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Do you remember any specific suggestions, like just in a nutshell of what you could offer people?
Wow. First suggestion is to be as bubbly and animated as possible. And it takes up a lot of energy. You need to have um, eaten enough before you take on such a lesson, because if you have no energy, then it's going to be a big flop. So you have to be animated, highly energetic. You should prepare some interactive activities for the kids because they get bored fast. And also, one last one that I was a bit skeptical about, and I was scared parents would think, are you playing games with my child during the lesson? So I had to incorporate some games, and luckily I found an amazing website for this, for games, educational games, which I usually play with my students to get them talking while they are engaged and enjoying the lesson.
Like, what is the website called? Sorry.
It's called Bamboozle.
Bamboozle. Oh, I've heard of this. Excellent.
Yes.
Cool. I'll try to remember to put this put this in the box below. Thank you for that suggestion. That's beautiful. Okay,
And it's
excellent.
Bam with two A's, not just one.
Two A's.
Bam.
All right. Cool.
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. Helen, that's excellent. Okay. Wow. We have covered so much, but I still have so many questions for you. Yeah, we've spoken about students. Let's talk about certification now, because I see on iTalki it says that you're TEFL certified. But I
Mm-hmm.
see that you're a community tutor. So could you tell me a little bit about your certification and what it was like getting your certification?
Well, I have a 120 hours TEFL certificate, and I think I got it in a month. I know some people say
Yeah.
it only takes 2 weeks to get it, or even a week if you are dedicated on to get the certificate. Well, I took a month to get it, and the reason I was getting the certificate was so that I could go and teach overseas, but I didn't get that chance. And from there, I started using it. I realized I could use it online. I only realized last year. So I started using it online. Yeah. So I have the 120 hours TEFL certificate. I have my bachelor's degree. And the reason I chose community tutor on iTalki was because I joined iTalki when I wasn't confident in my ability to come in as a professional teacher. The word professional teacher was a bit scary for me at that point. So I just thought, I know I have experience offline, but what if it's different online? Let me just go in as a community tutor. I'll see how it goes. If I'm comfortable with the platform, then I'll move on to a professional teacher.
Gosh, that is mind blowing to hear, because honestly, there are a lot of teachers on these platforms who do the opposite. They lie about what they can do instead of being humble and modest and like as honest as you are. And I'm not judging, but I
Mm-hmm.
know this for a fact because I've sat down with a lot of lovely people who have kind of told me they are not qualified to do something, but they are doing it, right? Or they're advertising it at least. And for
Mm-hmm.
you, you kind of did the opposite. You're like, I don't want to falsely advertise myself as a professional teacher until I feel that way. Wow,
Mm-hmm.
top marks, Jaime. That's excellent. Do you feel like a professional teacher now? Do you have that confidence now?
Actually, I do. I have the confidence after planning a few lessons here and there for my students from scratch. I feel like I'm ready to take on the professional teacher title. And I was actually thinking this weekend I'm going to record, because iTalki gives us some not recommendations, suggestions on how to record the video, what you should put up on your profile. And I was thinking, I think I'm ready to record my video and move on and go up a bit, become a professional teacher. So it was something that
Yes.
I was already planning on
You're
doing.
ready. You're ready. Well, this is the
Yeah.
perfect time. This is the perfect time. We're celebrating. So anybody watching this, go ahead and check out her profile. This is excellent. On Preply or Amazing Talker, do they have the same distinction between tutor and professional teacher, or no distinction? Interesting.
Actually, that's another difference that I forgot to mention. There's no distinction on Amazing Talker or Preply. You just come in as a teacher, decide what you want to do. As long as you can teach the people, then it's fine. If you want to label yourself a professional teacher, go ahead and label yourself as that. If you want to be just a tutor, do that. You can do what you want on Preply and Amazing Talker.
And what do you think about having this distinction in the first place? Do you think it's a useful distinction to have? Because I know that there are a lot of community tutors who might be better than some professional teachers, to be honest with you, but without that in their like name, they lose like a lot of bookings. At the same time, there are some community tutors who are more successful than professional teachers. So you could say it all comes out in the wash, and at the end of the day, the good teachers will keep the students, the ones who aren't good won't. So do you think this is a good distinction to have?
I think if people were honest about it, then it would be a good distinction, because then the parents or students would know from the word go what they are getting. Are they just getting someone they're going to be conversing with on a daily basis just to improve their conversational English, someone who isn't going to give them structured lessons, or if they're going to be getting structured lessons? So with that distinction, then students would know, okay, I just want something light, nothing professional. I just want to speak. So I'll go with a community tutor. But now, because the distinction, there's a bit of a mix up in that, I think it's better with the Preply and Amazing Talker method of just saying, label yourself, it's up to you, and then you can deliver what you can to your students. But with iTalki, you might find that someone is listed as a professional teacher, and then you go into lessons with them and all you're doing is conversing, or yes, and you're not getting your money's worth, if I may say.
Yeah, that's right. Like, as long as that's what you're advertising, because obviously for me, I'm a professional teacher and I do have conversational lessons. But the thing is that I still have, the conversational lessons, they're courses, they're structured, there's grading involved, there's homework that I'm marking, right? So that makes a little bit of a difference. But, professional teachers could offer conversational lessons, absolutely. The only thing is that there is an expectation that professional teachers can offer these structured lessons, IELTS preparation, some of them business English. So that's important as well. Okay, wow. Let's have a look here. So much to ask you about. So we spoke about your availability, your certification. I wonder, since we're talking about being a non-native speaker, since we're talking about being a community tutor, let's focus on non-native speaker. Have any of your students, do you think, undermined you at any point because of the fact that you are a non-native English speaker, or because you come from Botswana specifically?
I think the only hiccup I've had with being a non-native speaker in this online teaching profession is mainly that students overlook your profile because it's not a non-native speaker's profile. That's the main problem. But once I've gotten my students any student that has booked a lesson with me has come back. They didn't say, oh, you are a non-native speaker. I don't think you can teach me or anything like that. But I've had one student, well, they didn't say it to my face in the lesson, but I think after the lesson, they have a choice to review the lesson, and the student mentioned that I had an accent, but they could overlook the accent. And yes, so they mentioned something about my accent and maybe it being a problem for, I don't know if they were saying it to say maybe this could be a problem for you.
Yeah.
But if you want, you can overlook it and get the lesson.
Interesting.
So that's the only thing that I've gotten.
Yeah, like you speak so clearly. So that is really, and I'm not just saying it because I'm speaking to you, but you honestly do speak like very, very clearly and easily to understand. So I'm really like kind of blown away by this, but it's okay to teach their own. And to some people, I have an accent depending on, you know, what they're used to, right? So it that could be a factor as well. Yeah, a lot of my subscribers are actually from South Africa. I have a lot of support from South African teachers. A lot of teachers on iTalki, especially English teachers, are from South Africa as well. You're from a different African country, of course, but you do teach English, right? Do you teach Setswana? Is that the language? No.
Yes, that's the language. Setswana is the language, but I don't teach it. Funny story. I don't think I don't feel confident in teaching Setswana. I remember in my job as an in-class teacher, my boss asked if I could teach Setswana, and I said, I don't think I can do that. So I'm more comfortable speaking English than speaking Setswana. And it's funny because Setswana was the first language I spoke, but right after 5 years of my life, I started learning English, and I realized that it's so easy to express myself in English. And so I just put Setswana on the back seat, but I do communicate in it, but teaching it, no. I wouldn't. I don't think I'd ever.
No, okay, all right, fair enough. Just some people like to learn different languages. When I say different, I mean languages with less speakers, as a hobby, for example, or even for their heritage. So for people, maybe if there are any people who are watching who are who have Botswanan heritage, would you mind just introducing yourself in Setswana? Just like 20 seconds, if you don't mind.
Okay, but I just have to say I've sold myself short in this department already, but all right, so here goes the introduction. Leina la me ke Gaone, ke tswa ko lehateng la Botswana, ke na le dingwaga tse 4 ke ruta Setswana. No, mo Botswana. Okay.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Excellent.
Okay. All right.
Great stuff. So just moving on, I wonder if you have anything to say to other people, other teachers who are from Botswana or who are from Africa who want to get started on iTalki. And like if there's anything that you could say to them if they are doubting themselves, for example.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to say I am identified as a non-native speaker, but I have been on these platforms or on these 3 platforms for over 5 months now. And honestly, starting off, it's going to seem impossible. You're going to think it's pointless. I don't think I'll get any students, but honestly, for us as non-native speakers, we have to work extra hard. We have to put ourselves out there, market ourselves if we have. So don't give up on the first month of signing up. It's possible to be an online English teacher, even as a non-native speaker. In fact, it's even possible to be an English teacher in other countries as a non-native speaker. So don't be disheartened by this label that we are carrying with us, not because we want to, but because someone decided there should be native speakers and non-native speakers.
Yeah, that's
Just
it.
trust your ability to teach, and that's what will get you where you need to be.
That's beautiful. And when you go to Vietnam and you start teaching, we're going to have to sit down again for another interview so that you could,
Yes,
yeah, so that you could tell us how you're doing, so we could check up on you. If you have
absolutely.
time, I would love to ask just a couple more questions, if time permits you. So one question, since you teach online, I just want to know, in your TEFL, did they teach you anything about how to teach English online? And do you have any suggestions on how we could teach teachers to teach online?
Okay, so I got my certificate in late 2018, early 2019, I don't know, somewhere there. So it's been a long time ago, but I still go back to some of the notes that have been given about classroom management. And I think back then, the TFL certificate was geared towards people that want to teach in class, not online. So mine doesn't work for me in the online teaching arena. Maybe it will work in class. So if there's something that you need to teach teachers, it's how to manage the classroom, an online classroom. That's the most important, how to manage an online classroom, how to plan an online lesson, because it's not the same as planning an in-class lesson. And the resources to use when teaching online. Because I remember when I started, I searched and searched on YouTube for what I need to get to prepare myself or to be better prepared to teach online. And all I got was, you need to have good lighting, you need to have a carpet because kids need to be engaged,
Yeah.
you need to have a headset that has a mic on it, and you need to have good internet connection. But they don't tell you what you have to be doing in the class. Yes, I've gotten all these things. Now, what should I do? What am I supposed to do to keep my students engaged, to make sure that my students are getting the best education they can get, because they are paying their money at the end of the day. I've gotten the good lighting. We have good connection. What are we going to do now? Am I just going to look at my students and say, yeah, here's my puppet, say hi to, you know? So
God.
I think those are the most important things: classroom management, online classroom management, and lesson planning.
Wow. Okay, excellent, excellent. Yeah, because I got my TESOL in Thailand. It was a 120-hour course. It was 4 weeks, like 1 month, just like you. And for me, I think that's a great amount of time. To like, for me, that was perfect. So I did that, and no online, nothing online, right? They trained you for the context, for in-person classes with children, speaking and listening, communicative activities. Bam, that's it, right? And maybe
Yeah.
that's fair because it's a quick course, and they know you're going to teach in Thailand. They train you for the context. And even when I did my C TESOL here in Canada, that was 1 year at a university, and it was the same kind of thing. We had one class that was based on technology. Um, we were learning via Zoom though, so we were kind of learning a lot more by because the TESOL course was online. But if it was in person, I don't think we would have learned a lot about technology. So this is really
Yeah.
important. you know, because
Mm-hmm.
because I felt lost. And when I started on iTalki, I went to YouTube and I didn't find like anything. And that's why I started
Right.
to make these videos, right? Because there's so much knowledge out there and we just need to share it. So, Haone, thank you for sharing your knowledge with me. Is there anything else that you would like to say to anybody watching, or are we good to go?
Nope, we are good to go. Thank you so much, Ryan, for this and for your YouTube channel. It has been a lifesaver on so many accounts. You have no idea how many times I've gone back to your videos just before a lesson because I had no idea what I was going to do in that lesson. But after watching your videos, I was like, okay, I think I got this. So thank you so much for for your YouTube channel and
You
this
are
opportunity as well.
you're very welcome. All right, everybody, check out Haone's profiles and book a lesson with her.